The silence that followed Sarah's words stretched across the council chamber like a living thing. 237 species, representing billions of sentient beings across the galaxy, sat in stunned quiet as the weight of her statement settled over them. Admiral Utah broke the silence first, her melodic voice barely above a whisper. "What do you mean? You stopped pretending you weren't monsters?" Sarah stood in the human section, her small frame somehow commanding the attention of the entire vast chamber. Around her, the other human representatives sat with the same unsettling stillness they had maintained throughout the crisis. "Every species in this chamber knows about Earth," Sarah began, her voice carrying clearly through the acoustic systems. "You've all read our files. A death world, you called it. Extreme weather, dangerous predators, mass extinction events every few million years. You know that 99% of all species that ever lived on our planet went extinct." She gestured toward the massive display screens that showed Earth's image, a blue and green marble that looked deceptively peaceful from space. "What you didn't understand is what it takes to be the 1% that survives. What it takes to crawl out of that evolutionary grinder and reach the stars. You thought we were just another species that got lucky, that happened to develop intelligence and technology despite our harsh world." Chairman Vexhai's four eyes focused on her with uncomfortable intensity. "What are you saying, Ambassador Chen?" "I'm saying we didn't get lucky," Sarah replied. "We didn't survive by chance or accident. We survived because we became the apex predators, not just of our planet, but of the entire concept of predation itself." The chamber erupted in various sounds of confusion and alarm. Several species began rapid conversations among themselves, while others seemed to shrink back in their seats. "You speak as if predation is something to be proud of," Minister Korath said, his voice carrying moral outrage. "Civilized beings have moved beyond such primitive behaviors." Sarah's laugh was soft, but somehow it carried more menace than a roar. "Minister, with all due respect, you have no idea what you're talking about. You've never been prey. None of you have. Do you want to know why?" She waited, but no one answered. "Because we eliminated everything that might have hunted you," she continued. "Every species in this chamber evolved on worlds where they were either at the top of the food chain or had no serious predators. The Zelani's world had no land predators larger than what you would call a house cat. The Brothan's planet had herbivores that competed for resources but never developed pack hunting. The Nexari evolved in low gravity, where pursuit hunting was impossible." Admiral Utah felt her fins fluttering nervously. "What does that have to do with anything?" "It has everything to do with understanding what happened to the Kreetok," Sarah said. "You've all been calling them monsters, savage predators, the worst threat the galaxy has ever seen. But they weren't predators. Not really. They were scavengers." The statement hit the chamber like a physical blow. General Tox rose from his massive seat, his scaled form towering over the other representatives. "Scavengers," he rumbled. "The Kreetok destroyed entire fleets. They conquered systems. They attacked weak targets and ran from strong ones," Sarah corrected. "They struck isolated colonies and fled when your fleets arrived. They were carrion feeders, picking off the weak and wounded. They were never apex predators. They just looked like predators to prey species." She turned to address the entire chamber, her gaze sweeping across the assembled representatives. "Humanity has been part of this council for 12 years. In that time, we've been the model citizens. We've followed every law, respected every treaty, and never raised our voice in anger. We let you treat us like the junior species, the newcomers who should be grateful for your acceptance. Because that's what you are," declared someone from the Valorian section. "Earth is a tiny world with no significant resources. Your technology was primitive when we found you. You contributed nothing to the council except another voice in our discussions." Sarah nodded slowly. "That's exactly what we wanted you to think." The chamber fell silent again. A different kind of silence now. This wasn't the shocked quiet of confusion. This was the tense stillness of prey animals, realizing there might be a predator nearby. Our homeworld isn't rich in the metals and crystals you value for your technology, Sarah continued. But it's very rich in something else. Something none of your worlds ever had to produce. 12. Unheard process. We compen to us. Which is? Chairman Vexhai asked. Killers, Sarah said simply. Professional, efficient, creative killers. For 3 million years, our ancestors survived by being better at violence than anything else on our planet. We didn't just develop intelligence. We developed weaponized intelligence. Every human innovation, from fire to nuclear weapons to faster-than-light travel, came from our need to kill things more efficiently. She gestured toward the tactical displays still showing the aftermath of the Kree-Talk elimination. You saw our ships modify themselves with ramming prows and mechanical teeth. You think that was improvisation? We've been designing those modifications for decades, just waiting for an excuse to use them. Every human ship in our fleet can be converted to a Predator configuration within 72 hours. Admiral Yuta's voice was barely audible. How many ships do you really have? Sarah smiled. 37 combat vessels, just like we told you. But we never said anything about our civilian fleet. Cargo ships, passenger liners, mining vessels, exploration craft, 12,000 ships total. Every single one capable of being weaponized. The number hit the chamber like a tsunami. 12,000 ships would make humanity one of the largest fleets in the galaxy, comparable to the great powers. But that's not the truly frightening part, Sarah continued, her voice growing softer and somehow more menacing. The frightening part is that we've been studying all of you for 12 years, learning your weaknesses, your fears, your tactical doctrines. We know exactly how to hunt every species in this chamber. General Tox's massive form seemed to shrink slightly. You're threatening the Council? I'm explaining reality to the Council, Sarah corrected. For 12 years, you've had apex predators sitting quietly in the corner, pretending to be harmless. We've been taking notes on every discussion, every debate, every argument. We know which species are allies, which are enemies, which are strong, and which are weak. She gestured toward her fellow human representatives. Every human in our diplomatic corps is a former military officer, not because we couldn't find civilian diplomats, but because we wanted people who could assess potential threats and targets. Ambassador Williams over there? Former Marine sniper with over 300 confirmed kills. Ambassador Petrov. Naval intelligence, specialized in psychological warfare. The humans in question smiled and nodded pleasantly, as if they were discussing the weather rather than their qualifications for violence. This is madness, Minister Korath protested. You're talking about turning the Council into some kind of military hierarchy with humanity at the top. No, Sarah said. We're talking about honesty. For the first time since joining the Council, humanity is being completely honest about what we are and what we're capable of. Chairman Vexhai's 4 eyes blinked in rapid sequence. And what exactly are you capable of, Ambassador Chen? Sarah was quiet for a long moment. And when she spoke, every being in the chamber felt their blood run cold. We can end any species that threatens the peace of this Council, she said. Completely. Permanently. Like we did with the Kree-Talk, not through superior numbers or better technology, but through superior violence. The implications of her words rippled through the chamber. Several species began urgent communications with their homeworlds. Others seemed to be calculating whether their fleets could match 12,000 potentially hostile human vessels. But here's what you need to understand, Sarah continued, her voice softening slightly. We don't want to rule you. We don't want to conquer your worlds or steal your resources. We just want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. Then why this display of power? Admiral Yuta asked. Because peace requires honest communication, Sarah replied. For 12 years, We've been lying to you about what we are. That was creating a dangerous situation where you might have mistaken our restraint for weakness." She gestured toward the displays, showing the Kretok battle footage. "What you saw us do to the Kretok? That was us being gentle. We ended them quickly because they were a genuine threat to innocent civilians. If someone threatened humanity directly, or tried to use our peaceful nature against us, we would be much less merciful." "What do you want from us?" General Tox asked bluntly. "Exactly what we've always wanted," Sarah said. "To be members of this council, in good standing, to trade with your species, learn from your cultures, and contribute to the peace and prosperity of the galaxy. The only difference is that now you know the real price of threatening that peace." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from dozens of species. "The Kretok learned that there are consequences for being predators in a galaxy under our protection. We hope that lesson doesn't need to be repeated." Chairman Vexhai was quiet for several minutes, clearly struggling with the new reality. Finally, he spoke. "This changes everything," he said. "The balance of power, the nature of our alliance, the way we approach threats to galactic peace." "It doesn't have to," Sarah replied. "Nothing has changed except your knowledge of who we really are. We're still the same species that's been sitting in these chambers for 12 years, following your laws and respecting your customs. We're just not hiding our teeth anymore." Over the following weeks, the galaxy began to adjust to the new reality. Some species withdrew their fleets to defensive positions around their homeworlds. Others sought to strengthen their ties with humanity, hoping that friendship with the apex predators would protect them from future threats. But perhaps the most significant change was in the Outer Rim territories. For the first time in 50 years, colonies were being established without massive defensive fleets. Merchant vessels traveled without military escorts. Families settled on frontier worlds without fear of raiders in the night. The galaxy had learned that there were worse things than monsters hiding in the dark. There were humans, and the humans were no longer pretending to be something they weren't. Admiral Yuta found herself watching the human ships on her sensors differently now. Where once she had seen small, unremarkable vessels crewed by a junior species, she now saw predators moving with deadly purpose through space. Every human ship looked like exactly what Sarah had revealed it to be: a weapon waiting for an excuse to hunt. The Council continued to function, species continued to trade and cooperate, and peace continued to reign across the civilized galaxy. But now that peace was enforced not by law or treaty, but by the quiet promise that somewhere in the darkness, humanity was watching, and if anyone was foolish enough to threaten that peace, they would learn what it truly meant to be hunted by the apex predators of Earth. The galaxy had been warned. It was up to them whether that warning would be sufficient.